we'll do the live thing first. Like.
We are live, baby.
All right, Here we are. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here actually with my first guest ever of the podcast, named Mr. Jack Williams.
Yo. What's up? Thanks for having me, Mark. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you, bro.
Hey, man. Like I said, I wouldn't want the first guest to be anybody else, truthfully. And
that.
you guys have been super supportive about me coming up with this idea and doing it. And,
it's reality now, man.
And
we're in it.
And Mr. Christian Oben behind the camera over here. He's both of you guys been a huge help, and I really appreciate you guys for sure.
Of course,
because it's definitely it's important for your friends to be there and be supportive and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because again, we all support each other in everything we do too, right? You're starting with your painting.
Yes, sir.
Christian's doing his film editing and videography and stuff, which is amazing.
Everybody's kind of picked something up a bit more recently, and then like you were saying, you kind of need each other around too. There's a bit of accountability that definitely comes with it, and then of course, like shooting the shit and getting ideas flowing is always good as well, right? So
for sure. Well, I mean, we've talked about it before in the past too, right? Like, it's nice to have that like expression.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Like not everyone gets
get it out of the head.
Yeah,
because otherwise it gets too much in the head, right? Like ideas,
right?
They're great, but until you act on them, like they're just ideas, right?
Sure, and it can definitely build up in your head, and it can definitely bottle up in there essentially. And I think, I mean, I can't comment on everybody, but I think that's a lot of people are dealing with that too, right? They're feeling.
I would say so,
right?
Especially given the last year.
Sure.
There's been a lot.
Yeah,
there's always a
lot.
Well,
what's the date today? October 7th, 2020. Yeah. Who would have thought?
It's a blink,
right?
It's the 10th
back
month
in
of
March,
the year.
Right? That when things were seriously hitting the fan, that this is where we'd end up. Who knew? And I really think people have put their lives on hold, and because they thought it wasn't going to last very long.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, no one really knew what it was or what was going to go on.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, taking it kind of day by day, and at times, like I said, it was at different times like a blink. Like, oh, there goes that 2 weeks. There goes that month. And then all of a sudden, we're in the 10th month of 2020, and it's like, where's that gone? But what have you done throughout?
Well, I mean, luckily, I'm still working. I'm still at the brewery. Sean and Ed's, shout out. We've all worked there at some point.
Yeah.
Actually, that's where
baby.
We all met. And which is amazing, and but it was deemed essential, and I was one of the only people actually working at the brewery for some time. A lot of people got laid off. I was still mainly doing some driving, but I was working behind the bar, doing the pickups, doing all that stuff too, and then we were doing all those home deliveries, which kept me super busy. So work itself.
Did that overall make up for the lack of restaurants and that being open in the sense of home delivery, or
I don't really know.
Okay.
To be truthfully honest, I didn't really see the numbers,
right?
To be okay, how much money did we actually make? But we were getting hundreds of orders.
Yeah.
And it was I think minimum $75 for free delivery.
Oh, a minimum. Oh, wow.
Well, you could and
I mean,
you could have ordered just a 6-pack, but you would have had to pay $10 on top of it.
Yeah. Okay.
So you know what I mean? If they're getting hundreds of deliveries, at least $75 a pop. And there was this place I was dropping 10 cases off at this dude's house. He was part of a rugby club and distributing a bunch of it too, but 10 cases almost weekly.
It does bring up an interesting kind of thing around all the time off is if you weren't working, what were you doing? And I imagine a lot of people used it, didn't use it, used it in maybe this way, that way.
Right.
don't mean to sound too judgmental on people's choices, but
no.
Even myself, like there was days where I'm like, yo, I played video games 3 days in a row. Like I done fuck all. Like I gotta go do something. You know what I mean?
And you're blessed to have that inner drive. I feel like not too many people have that drive where they can check themselves before they proverbially wreck themselves.
For real.
You know what I mean?
Check yourself.
Right. And I think, again, people got into this mindset where it's like, it's going to be okay. I'm just going to, keep plugging away. And those were the people that actually had work, let alone like doing nothing. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to wait this out, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's almost
and
like,
again, that unknown waiting time. How long was it going to be? No one knew.
Sure.
No one even still kind of knows because it's ramped up.
Well, and it also kind of split civilization or society into like 3 groups, where one group, things didn't really change. It was pretty much the same. Right. One group, it got crazy busy, even busier than ever, like hospitals and stuff and stuff like that. And then some people were...
Shout out all first response workers.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Frontline workers of all different sorts. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, 100%. By far the foot soldiers of this whole thing. And then there's that other group that they went down to doing nothing, basically, right? Like they went from maybe crazy busy to zero. And we're restaurants and people who work in them, and then just anything that wasn't deemed essential. Yeah. So more than grateful that alcohol was deemed essential. I mean, for many reasons, obviously. Oh yeah. If you just yank alcohol from people,
so many people
they can actually die.
That. Yeah,
right.
Like,
which is
why are you
crazy.
Keeping that? Yeah, shut up. Honestly.
Right. So literally one of the only drugs, and it is a drug. It's literally one of the only drugs that you can die off the withdrawals from. Yeah. Hey, hardcore heroin addicts don't die from just the withdrawals, but alcoholics can, and that's just the mechanism of the drug. But again, this is something that is completely legal. Almost zero stigma in society about it. I mean, enough stigma about the abuse of it, but still, like that ceiling's pretty high before we start saying someone's abusing alcohol. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or even you can say abusing it, but then when do you actually do something about it? When do people step in? Things like that.
Abuse is a little bit nebulous too. But
big conversation. But
so again, lucky that I was able to do that. But again, thankful that I still had some music to do, and the band was plugging away. Obviously we couldn't play live shows, right? But we were writing music, and we were still practicing
in a creative zone
when we were able to. But it was still like a good 3 months off at the beginning, or at least a month or so off. I don't even remember, but right at the beginning of things, where we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even get together to jam, and it was really tough on musicians. But I mean, you look at yourself. You're able to start doing something completely autonomous.
Yeah, towards which is amazing, somewhat
with the painting.
Yeah, luckily for those of you that don't know and don't follow me, I do like abstract painting and such like that. So
at Jack Williams on Instagram, everybody.
By Jack Williams.
Sorry,
it's all good. It's there. It's
at by.
Yeah, and yeah. So that started up sort of towards the end of, I'd say, like mid-July.
Sweet.
I really got like going on it. Prior to it, was an observer, and if you want to call me that. Was always kind of interested in painting and art in general. Right. Various forms, photography, videography, stuff like that. Dabbled with it off the phone and things like that, friends' cameras. But I guess throughout the COVID months, time off, things like that, I just was dwelling on the idea, again, bringing up ideas. And then one day was like, let's order a little starter kit off Amazon. Yeah. And it was quick as day. Like showed up, 2 days later. Beauty. Came with 3 little 8x10 canvases. Cool. Filled up in the night.
Brushes and stuff.
Yeah, a little brush set, a few tools, and loads of paint.
Cool. Acrylic?
Yeah, acrylic base. So that's mainly what I'm working with right now. Right. Honestly, I call it self-learning, not self-taught, because I've got so much to go, right? So much to learn, different techniques to try, different like overall style of painting. So sure. More than anything right now, it's a lot of experimenting, a lot of looking for new muses, if you will, new examples.
Sure.
Got my page going up. So since then, that has been able to kind of center it a lot more.
Cool.
I see just things that are a lot more oriented towards creation and art, and then also where I want to take it in the future as well. Right. I have a lot of interest in interior design and
very cool
aspects like that. I think that's where the art aspect kind of came from, but then taking it further and seeing kind of where that could stretch to. So.
Well, just that whole idea of like composition and understanding balance and all that stuff.
Contrast and just environment, setting.
Any visual art form, from architecture to design to actual visual art, it contains all those elements for sure.
Absolutely.
And that's super cool. Like before, like you said, you were kind of into stuff before, like either than just like casually, like, did you ever have that feeling before of like, I want to actually do this? Like, was there a piece that you ever saw that was like,
well, I always used to say when I was a kid, I was like, I'm not creative. I'm not like a creative person.
Okay.
But I don't think that's true for anybody. I think everybody is actually creative.
They just don't know that they're creative.
They just don't know. They haven't been exposed. They haven't been given like the tools. They don't have the freedom, the time.
Or found their right lane too, because there's so many. Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so different forms about it. Like I watched a lot of different artists on YouTube.
Awesome.
And not just like, classic content. Everybody's content is a bit different, but it was like deep dive into their painting. So it was like them in the studio halfway through a piece, and they're just talking about like their specific marking, or the tools they're using and the paint they're using and how they blend the colors. And
do they talk about like their plan, like where it's going to go, or is it more like the present, like what they're actually
really depends, I guess, who you're watching. Some do. Sometimes it blows my mind with like these videos where they've got the canvas, they've got a back color on it, and then it's just, of course it's cut clips and all that, but the vision that they have for an entire piece, I'm still definitely at that stage for me where, I kind of just attack canvas. I throw some tunes on, might have a drink, might have a smoke.
Cool.
Just get vibey.
Right.
And then depending on like the time of day that I'm creating as well, all sorts of things can kind of come into the influence of it.
Absolutely.
Which I've kind of grasped from different artists and different sources. I now have this rule that like if I see a gallery, I just have to kind of walk into it.
Awesome.
Within financial matters and means, but if they can take me at the front door, like I'll go in and just talk, just to get some exposure, look at things, and again, that self-learning stage, right? So I think that's going to be a continuing thing.
Well, that like made me think of like, it's so fascinating that any art form, like there's schools of art, obviously they exist for everything, music, sculpture, whatever, but then there are lots of people throughout history, famous or otherwise, who are self-taught and just as prolific, just as good. I mean, it's really funny. I always love to think about, so I wish I knew the year, but one year Pearl Jam won a Grammy.
Okay. And
they went up and Eddie Vedder was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like this is like an award for art. Like it's something that's like it only matters on how you actually perceive it. Like each person has a subjective view. Yeah. And we're judging something that's objective.
Yeah.
As subjective. Right? You know what I mean? Like it's just strange. I loved it. And like he went up in front of everybody and was like, I don't know what this means.
Right.
I don't know if it means anything.
Yeah.
Like the freaking Grammys.
So the Grammy Awards, like I think a lot of people would have that moment. Like you could be sitting there, you can be in the running up, and you can be among all these various award shows, but that moment they actually like kind of get it. It's got to just blow your mind.
Well, it's a popularity contest.
Well, a lot of it, yeah.
Right.
And again, when you're standing there also loving all the work that's around you as well. I just can't,
you think of how many artists, not only just bands, but artists in general that are just buried, that no one's ever heard of.
Oh, yeah.
But you get to see them and you're like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, this is awesome.
Those are my favorite finds when you find, like, new musicians or hidden artists, like even local ones. It's like the local shops you find too.
But because they don't win awards or they'll never win a Grammy, overall they're not considered great. which is insane. You know what I mean? And I think that's where Eddie's kind of coming from, is that, you know, and I think that's what keeps a lot of people from ever being artists too, is that, oh, I'll never be great. I'll never be Picasso, or I'll never be Jimi Hendrix, or, you know, and why should I even start? But you never know. You never know.
You should start just because today's day one. Like every day is day one. So to start is just a start. Like I don't think like I've gone through like little ups and downs of those moments, like self-critique and trying to, again, I do abstract, but sometimes I'm trying to perfect the painting, which is a funny kind of juxtaposition, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And but I guess I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah, well, I mean,
lost it.
Yeah, whoops. But again, you know, I think that the more you're able to do it, like you're saying, self-learn, self-taught, like the more you're able to do it, the better you're going to be, but it'll only happen when you actually start.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not, I guess, to swing me back around to what I was going to say, thank you, is it's kind of getting over the critique of yourself and the outside too. Like, it's brave. It takes a lot of bravery, for sure. So much. And there is that moment, like when I'm, you know, about to post something, share a painting, or even when I've had the lucky opportunity to paint for a few people, do some commissions lately.
Sweet.
And I've had people come and pick it up, and that moment of like, are they going to be pleased with this? And you know, there is that anxiety moment, but then it's like a quick breath, you know, and I'm just there again, and part of the moment. It's all part of the process. You all like the feedback is necessary as well, because how are you gonna grow? So it's not being afraid of it, but it's not getting too stuck on it. I think both sorts of feedback, like positive and negative.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to get too high up on yourself too early, or ever.
Sure.
But you don't want to get too hard on yourself either, because then you'll never create.
Well, that's the interesting thing that you kind of brought up is, you know, like you said, you try to perfect a painting, quote unquote, but like art maybe isn't supposed to be perfect. Maybe there's some art, maybe there's like photorealism paintings that are supposed to be like close to reality, right? But then again, there's abstract, and like, you know, there's Jackson Pollock, and there's Picasso, and there's stuff that's like, what is even happening? Yeah. But there's beauty in it, you know, it breaks all the rules of perfection kind of thing. And I've always said, because it happens in the studio all the time, right? You like, and most of the time it's like the first or second take that you get it, but you end up doing 1,000 takes, and you're like, I think I can do better. And then you just get in your own head,
trying to get in there. Yeah.
And then you just keep doing that more and more, and then all of a sudden you're like, let's just go with the first one, which is usually better anyway,
because it was just like in there. You're not in your head, you're just in the action of actually working and creating.
Well, and I heard a painter say once, a painting is never done. No. Painting is never done. You can always put one little more color on there. You can always put one little thing. Yeah. Like, I believe you can polish something so much you
wear through it.
Yeah, you wear a hole through it. Yeah. And I think that knowing when to step back, right?
Just in it.
Yeah, I think knowing when to step back is probably one of any artist's greatest traits, is knowing when to step away.
Yeah, that's been a learning curve for me. Like, I had a friend 2 weeks ago say, where's the empty space, or something along those lines.
Oh, fair.
I was like, it's something to consider, because like my first few paintings were like every inch of the canvas I covered it with some sort of paint.
Sure.
And it works, but then, you know, there is that other side of the painting, and letting, you know, open space be something added to it, bring an essence in. And you know, another learning curve that I've had, which is funny, is anytime I complete a piece and then I ask someone kind of what they see, what their opinion of it is, they bring out so much that I never saw or intended. So that's another.
Well, it's a bit of like a Rorschach test, right?
Sorry?
A Rorschach test. Have you ever heard of that?
Never heard of it.
Those, like the ink blots that like psychologists like Freud would show people and be like, what do you see?
Oh, okay.
And it's like a bat, or like, you know, a party hat, or it looks like something crazy. Each person's going to be so different because it's such a nebulous object. And then there's a theory that you can gain some type of insight on a person's psyche from how they react to them. And I mean, there's definitely
Yeah.
some. It's not
Oh,
it's
for
not
sure.
unbelievably nuanced, but like if everything that you show a person, they're like, that looks like death, and that looks like the
Yeah, there
devil, and
might
like
be
the
an
demons
occurring
coming at me.
event.
Yeah, maybe
Recurring
something's
theme
going on.
through. You might need to
Right?
chat.
But
Yeah.
but again, you know, it's not like a precise diagnostic tool or anything.
No.
But that's what a lot of visual art, you know, shows to me. And I think that's almost a little bit of the essence of what Vedder was saying, is that it could be something so different to each person, and we're diminishing all those people's.
Bringing it all into one. Little
We're diminishing
statue,
all those
little-
people's
yeah.
individual feelings and experiences just to be like, this is the best song of the year. What?
Just to have a program.
Right? Like, what's
Yeah.
the best painting of the year? They don't have that, right? And it's the same diff, right?
Tough.
And movies, like, it's all, I get it. It's cool. It's the
fun to do.
Oscars.
That's
It's
all
nice
it
to be
really
like,
is.
oh, I'm going to check that movie out because it won all these awards.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, it's something that's, you know, it's so subjective.
Well, a lot of people even say like movie reviewers are the worst movie watchers, right? 'Cause
Sure.
They just rip movies apart and
Right.
often, you know, don't get it wrong, or like you'll get the worst review from a movie critic, and then you're looking on what is it, Rotten Tomatoes, and it's
Sure.
like 98%.
Yeah.
Everybody's watched it, everybody's
Man,
loving it.
that's
but
me
this guy
all
in his
day.
tight shirts, like, fuck this.
I run away from the movies that everyone loves, where everyone's like, you got to see this. This is the best. Like, it was unreal.
Well, you know me, man. Like, there's so many times people bring up movies, and I'm like, huh?
Right.
Never seen it.
Right.
And they're like, how have you not seen it? Like,
You
I
gotta see
don't
it.
think I've ever actually sat through like Titanic all the way. Like, I
Okay.
just fall asleep.
Sure.
Like, I
Yeah.
know what happens,
Right.
right? But
Spoiler alert.
spoiler. But yeah, a lot of those movies, I get like an idea of them, and I'm just like, that's
Sure.
good enough for me. Carry
Right,
on.
right,
But
right.
then there are those ones where you finally watch and it blows you away. But
Well, yeah, again, you know, and maybe that even gets us into like levels of art, right? Because there's like high art, and then there's like commonplace, like fucking whatever art's going to be like on an ad, right? Like that's
Oh,
not
yeah, I
considered
get
like
you.
beautiful. That's going to be in a museum,
but just
it's still a
something
piece of art.
yeah, brings
And
out
there's
a
elevator
reaction.
music, and there's Bach, right? Like there's these
Great.
continuums.
I love that one. Yeah.
Right? Like there's these continuums in each art form of like, and that's where Warhol used to get into, Andy Warhol, because he was getting into mass production of art. So do you know about much about Andy Warhol and his stuff?
Not a lot. Someone I kind of been trying to dive
So he's
into
like this
recently.
American artist from Pittsburgh. He was in the 60s and
infamous name.
infamous
Yeah.
like pop culture
You gotta-
icon.
like, a lot of people know him, but I don't know any
he
details about his
came
life.
up with the idea of like the 15 minutes of fame, or at least popularized it, like that everyone
I didn't
on
know that.
earth can get the 15 minutes of fame.
Crazy.
That
especially now.
it's harder to obviously hold on to it, but everyone is capable of this. So and again, that's where, you know, he was kind of going with. So he did like those Campbell's soup paintings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was all about mass production, and he would do like hundreds of them, different colorways and all kinds of stuff. But he was into like the art form itself is in how much you can duplicate it. Because again, like in what you're doing, you could never do the exact same painting twice.
No,
As hard as you
definitely not.
tried,
Definitely
it'd be
not.
really, really, really hard
No one
without the influence of machines.
Yeah.
But like, he was like, there's beauty in the actual recreation of this, and that you can do this infinitely. It's almost like maybe he was getting into like fractal, like holographic, like dimensional stuff, where it's just like the infinite or the universe goes infinitely in and infinitely out. So like it's just repeating. It's just a system of like repeating symbol, images and everything. It's a spiral, all this
you.
stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where he was going, but
Possibly.
he was right. I don't know, but it was all about just like mass production and like that. There is beauty in that. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
not
look-
considered as
Look at
like,
a lot of music right now
Yeah.
that people are also taking in. It's just like it fits a pop formula. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna get the hits. It's gonna get on the radio, but
Sure.
it's still a matter of like you hear it after a while, and it's a past song. It's gone
Mm-hmm. Well,
now, but
You even look at like an artist like Rothko,
right.
where it's literally like one color on the page.
Mm-hmm.
Or on the canvas,
Yeah.
or like two colors, and
Yeah.
you're like, this is the deepest thing I've ever seen,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's the thing. Like that's where, you know, sometimes at the early stages, I was going across different artists, and I was trying to find things that I liked.
Cool.
And then I started just following things that were different. It was just that shock more than anything, of like a different type of, doesn't have to be something that you're going to create for you to consume it or entertain it or whatever. Because again, like all sorts of, no matter what you're looking at, you're going to interpret it. You're going to take some sort of pull from it.
For sure.
Even if it is the very, like, what was the name of the artist you were talking about?
Warhol or Rothko?
Rothko.
Yes.
So like a single color that might be like very slim to a lot of people. But what if like the day you see that painting is the color of your mother's eyes?
Sure.
Boom.
Oh my gosh.
Everything is there for you. It sends you through an emotional turmoil.
Definitely.
Sends you through the greatest moments. It, you know, it takes you through everything. And that could just be one simple color to some people. And that's where the funny part about...
I wonder if there are some artists that think, I know everyone is going to experience this so differently. Like I'm not painting this with one person in mind.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know? So cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. I don't think anyone is going to have the same perspective to something, like, because no matter how long they look at it, how, you know, what they're looking for, how really, like, if they're looking at it in a positive way, trying to critique it is another thing. Like sometimes when you're going through a gallery, I find like I'll look at something very nonchalant, and then the next one I will just break it apart. And I'll really try to understand like the character behind it, how long did it take, how many layers are there, is there things that are hidden, and just that alone, like how long you spend on something. You know? It's like when you go back and listen to a song that you listened to when you were a kid. For sure. Oh man, gives you a thrill.
Well, yeah, and I mean sometimes it elicits those same feelings, and sometimes it's like a whole new thing, right? And it's really interesting, like. If you do create art with someone in mind, you're definitely alienating some people, right? Like, because again, like we said, if everyone experiences things so differently, it's almost like a presumption to be like, this is how people are going to see this, then they're going to love it.
Yeah, definitely.
and it's kind of like, you know, obviously there has to be a little bit of like that, you know.
Well, you're playing into an audience. There's a sense of like, if you're trying to sell, if you're trying to get traction on, you know, a social media trend, if, you know, a new song, a piece of art, whatever, you are trying to, of course, play it to someone. But yeah, there is a very important part to keeping it open and not having it too strict. But
well, I mean, open, but I'm kind of more like, do it for yourself. Oh, like, yeah. Make the art and do it that it satisfies your soul, and people will appreciate that. You know what I mean? And I think
true intention, and
again, that's maybe another obstacle to even starting, is that you think, oh, no one's gonna like it. Yeah. Well, it only matters if you like it.
Yeah, like why are you, I guess at the end of the day, like why are you doing it? If you kind of figure out that cause, it's everything. Like, you know, there is a business side to art, and I'm kind of learning and exploring it. But at the end of the day, like what I found from just trying it and actually putting the action in, buying paint sets and going to the store, it's therapeutic. It's a full, you know, expression of my week, my life, my experiences, everything that I've, you know, taken in, from the music that I'm listening to in the moment to the new song that I found 3 days ago. You know, I often find myself, I paint it in the evening a lot, or like late at night. And I think that's, right now, I've noticed that it's like, I've just taken my whole day, and then I'm like getting it out. And then I wake up that next morning, and I'm so like, I go and look at it, and I'm so shocked sometimes. I'm like, who did this? Like, there was like 2 hours of my evening where I was just like, gone. Amazing. Yeah, in that flow, if you will. And that's, I think that's why it's important. Sorry to cut you off but I think that's why it's important to find something. And that doesn't have to be, you know, super artistic or music or art. Like that could be working out. That could be like your evening run, or your Sunday bake sesh. And I mean like bakery, not, you know, well, if it is, it is, you know, if it is, it is.
Baked baking.
But yeah, you know, baking cakes, getting out, helping the community. Like everyone's got their different itch and that thing that makes their life, you know, enjoyable. A bit more enjoyable. Yeah. You're not going to love every part of it. But if it helps you, you know, enjoy your day, enjoy your evening. I find that since I've started as well, I've I'm just talking to people more. I'm trying to find that kind of inspiration through people. And again, I find my inspiration through life itself, is like I say.
Unreal.
But more and more, like, just interesting conversations, and then jumping on a canvas, and I'm right back into it all of a sudden.
Well, it's almost like it's like an artist's job to distill their experience and put it through into the world, like somehow bring human experience into a tangible object that you can look at and be like, that's exactly how I feel inside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And again, that's exactly how I feel. Cool. No matter what the intention behind the artist was, it's just, it's done something to you. It's hit that click, it's hit that emotion. And it's powerful, man. It's infectious too. Like, you know, even since I've started my painting stuff, since then, you know, you've started the podcast, we've, you know, started collaborating.
All right, everyone. Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty there.
We back.
Camera just died, battery. But we got a backup one, thankfully.
Noted.
I cannot remember where we were at all, but
creation,
again, we were talking about about having that outlet. Exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you. And you know, I think again, you distill and you take in your experiences and you look at all this stuff around, and you just try and bring that into this reality, because essentially we're taking stuff that doesn't exist, like in tangible sense, and bringing it into a very tangible sense, whether it's sculpture and you can literally touch it and it looks like a person and it looks like, it's like, what the hell is even happening, to art where you're taking it in with your eyes and it's like you're immersed in this like visual experience, to music where you're like listening to it. You know, we were talking about the Bhagavad Gita before, and it's a part of a series of it's a part of a series of Indian spirituality translations. Right?
Yep.
It's a part of these translations that they're all essentially trying to bring that essence, that the unexplainable, the only like things that are only available through experience, and trying to actually bring it into this reality,
put it into some sort of explanation, if you will.
And some people who have had those experiences or have gone to different heights or whatever they've done, they recognize that stuff when it comes back, and they go, oh, that's, you know, it's like scaling Mount Everest and stuff too. It's like you're only gonna understand what's up there by actually going,
by getting up there.
You can look at maps and you can look at things, and when you actually go there, you'll recognize some of that stuff as stuff that you looked at, but it's not really
whole
there.
Different feel.
Right.
Whole, you know, you're
and
getting every little essence
channel.
of it.
You talk about that channel. That's what that is. That is from the ether, from the collective unconscious, whatever you want to call it. You know, we're opening that channel, and I think as artists, the easier you're able to open that channel, the more art you will create. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I think it was Buddy Guy talking, who's a famous blues guitar player. He was talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan, another unbelievable famous guitar player that passed away, unfortunately. But he was saying, like, he is a channel. Like, you watch him play, and it's like he's just reaching deeper in the bag, and like there's no end. It's like Mary Poppins' bag. It just keeps going. Yeah, like there's just
can always find something more, and
and that only comes from when you're in that mindset of like, I'm a channel,
letting go. Yeah, of like,
it is totally.
You have to let go of you. Like you have to let go of. There's a guy, Tom Burbage, big artist from Manchester, who I follow, and Christian and I, we were watching his video yesterday, and he had this line, which was like, when I paint, like, I have to forget who I am, because you know, as much as you are creating it, you know, you can't be too particular. You can't bring everything about you into it. Right. It can't just be your view and your experience. So be in that channel, man. It's, and those moments of it too. Like I said, there's moments where I'm in it, and then you snap back out. Right. And you're the viewer again. You're your own audience in a sense. And you know, even when we're doing little things like this, setting up and taking the photos, taking the videos, and you know, we'll do many more podcasts, of course. And when we're on, you know, 1534 of the Bigmark podcast,
yeah, baby,
we'll be laughing at like the way we are today.
For sure.
Right.
Oh my
but
gosh.
it's just like not being too particular about it, like getting it started.
That comes from growth, and that comes from change.
Yeah.
I think if we weren't
Discomfort,
different people,
almost.
we'd look back and be like, hey, that's just like us. It's like, we just did that yesterday.
Yeah, that would be almost sad.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be sad.
Right. So
but
let's
yeah,
not let that happen.
I think that's something that I've been trying to focus on a lot over the last few months, and of course, like going forward, is kind of diving into that discomfort, that unknown as well, because that's where like everything about you can be challenged. But then you'll either like concrete it down a bit more, you know, get it in you, solidify it. Great way to say it. Or you'll switch, you'll change, you'll grow. For sure. And I think, yeah, if you're always, you know, in the same comfortable group setting, like I'm going to start doing this thing now where I'm just going to start talking to strangers a bit more within like reason.
Malcolm Gladwell style.
Small things, like just, you know, like I notice my parents, they can just say hello. Like my granddad can just say hello to anybody. And it's important little things like that to kind of keep in mind of like, keep your head up. Don't always be on your phone. Don't always be plugged into something. Because you never know, you know, the opportunity or just the great conversation that you're going to have with someone.
Oh, absolutely. You know it. And I mean, there's, you know, as much as that's awesome, like, you know, you can totally learn so much from other people, and being open. I think that's the huge thing too, right? Is not being so closed off and having those potential insecurities that make you not like, you know, why do I want to talk to this person? Is it a paranoia thing? Are you worried about what they can do, what they can say? Or is it more like, how are they going to perceive me?
Yeah.
Like, right. There's all those weird anxieties and all those little thoughts that come in, but it doesn't have to be there. Right. And I mean, like, you know, we all worked behind the bar at the brewery. So like we were constantly meeting strangers. Constantly.
Definitely challenged.
Right? And it was awesome to kind of be in that. And there was some really challenging people. And then there were some people that were awesome to talk to, and all the regulars and all that stuff. And
a lot of growth comes from just that, just those small conversations.
You learn so much about yourself, like not to be selfish about it, but that, you know, obviously you learn about yourself, right? Because it's a reflection, and everyone is a reflection of you. Yeah. Right. Like if we are the same as everyone, like I am you and you are me. More we understand that, of course we're going to talk to anybody.
Yeah,
because
literally.
They're me. That hobo asking for money is just as much me as that self inside that I think I am.
Oh, absolutely. If your circumstances went a certain way, and if you didn't have, you know, the structure, that goes for all of us, myself included, that, you know, if I wasn't lucky enough to have the family and the care that I've had up until today, you know, that could very well be you. And I think a lot of people are very disconnected from that reality.
Is you. That's the weird thing. It actually is you.
Yeah. It's not even could be. It is you.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's something that, you know, you try to lead with a bit more. I try to lead with more, is kind of inspiring that compassion and that empathy. I think that's a big word that, you know, people, kind of a big buzzword right now, but it's quite important, you know, having that empathy towards everybody that you interact with. And, you know, it doesn't just go for strangers either, like the people around you, like the people you see all the time, like maybe just pay a little bit more attention. You might be able to hear, you know, a new line, a new conversation that when you're just tuned in a bit more,
right,
you know, it could change your entire relationship with that person,
well,
friend,
that
family.
Idea of solidification can also kind of go in another way too, where it's like a calcification, and you just things just keep layering on top, and slowly but surely,
layers,
right? And I think that's something that you, like, you know, able to you know, kind of be nice and fluid still.
Yep.
And you know, again, it's like that Bruce Lee thing, like be like water.
Be like water, my friend.
Right? And fill the cup.
Become the cup.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, but at the same time, you can't pour from an empty cup. Right? So like there's all this, you know, people, there is a level of like, you got to be comfortable with yourself first. Very, very important. And take care of all your bases before you start not even reaching out to help others per se, but even just interacting with them.
Yeah, honestly.
Right.
Just reaching out, being like, how's your week going? What's going on in your life? It also helps solidify that for other people, because once they get that question and they say what they're doing,
right,
it's going to keep in mind the next morning.
Oh my gosh.
If you're constant, like, if that's why, for something like all that we're doing, Christian, yourself, myself, when we come up with these ideas, that's why I think our friendship works so well, is that as soon as we think of something, we like consistently kind of mention it to each other.
Absolutely.
There's never like a bombardment and like a, why the hell are you doing this yet? But it's like, hey, remember you brought this up.
Right.
Like, you doing it yet? Have you,
right.
How's that going for you?
Absolutely.
And going forward, that's just going to keep everybody accountable.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Not to one another, because we all want to help one another and see each other grow, but at the end of the day, help that self accountability as well.
That's what it is.
Keep you in the race.
100%. And I think that's the essence of our community, like of people working together.
Yeah.
And cooperation. When Darwin wrote the what is it, the Ascent of Man? Oh my gosh, Christian, you want to look that up for me? Sorry, I'm blanking.
Quick look up.
But Charles Darwin, obviously the father potentially of modern evolution, he wrote The Descent of Man, which was this book that after he went to the Galapagos Islands and searched all this stuff, he was bringing all these ideas that all life on this planet originated potentially from one source, and slowly but surely separated and evolved and changed all these different things to all the different species you have on the planet, right? Everyone knows evolution.
Yep.
But there was this guy, Hobbes or something. Anyway, there was this dude who, right?
Some guy
who interpreted his work totally different, and he's the guy who actually brought all that information to like the general public. And what he looked at it as like nature is one in tooth and claw, and it's survival of the fittest, and all that stuff, right? Which is, again, we all associate with Darwin, but that actually wasn't him. That was this other character, potentially Hobbes. I don't even know. Sounds
like it.
Anyway, he was the guy who misinterpreted, in my opinion. But in the actual Descent of Man, Charles Darwin only mentions survival of the fittest like twice, and mentions like love and cooperation like 95% of the time. Right, because so that's what you look at. Most successful species on the planet, they're able to work together, whether it's super like packs, wolf packs, or like primate groups or whatever, or just like in general the species works together.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
I think that's what that comes down to, and a lot of people
according to their
these
need.
Days, it's all about individual experience. It's all about what I'm doing. I don't want to put like, it's almost like people don't want to burden others with their thing. But that the thing is that if I'm helping you with something, you're going to help me with something, and vice versa. The reciprocal nature of all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that, and it's social media. It's literally everything. I think everything is all about like, these are my shoes, these are my clothes, like I'm the only one, this is my identity, that I'm the only one. But you create yourself as an island. You become an island, and then when you do hit those rough waters and you're like, shit, has anyone ever gone through this shit? You've isolated yourself so much that it's going to be so hard to actually find someone who's also gone through that too, right? Not knowing that like everyone around you is literally doing the exact same thing in their head. Like they're doing the island, they're taking themselves out of your life. They are you, like you said earlier. Like we all do it. We all have our own kind of things in our life that we're trying to put in direction, and for sure clean up, and we want to try this and try that, and we wish we didn't eat the box of candy 2 days ago, but we did, and we're here now, and that's each to their own. But I guess you're a channel for the candy. Yeah, for real, for the sugar. But I mean, again, that's the thing, is that we can learn so much from other people, right? Because they are going through that in some certain way. And if someone's telling you they aren't, they're probably lying to you or trying to sell you something.
Or they're trying to sell you something. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Big front. Yeah, I mean, even myself, like, I'm 23, but even when I was younger, like 17, 18, like, I look at how I was when I came into university, and that's like a big fronter. Like, yeah, things don't bug me, bro. But, you know, life is life. You're bugged by things, and there's an importance to acknowledge the things that are bugging you and getting under your skin. And, you know, if somebody did say something that is sending you off a bit, like, say it, like, bring it up, like, squash it. Like, why are you going to let that kind of, like you said, callous, you know, let it sit for a week? Like, come on now.
Right. I mean, at one token, I will say there is some merit in the whole, like, I don't know if it's egocentric per se, but that whole, like, confidence thing, whether it's real or not, because, like, I was talking with my buddy today, I was working out with him, and we were talking about, like, when athletes are like a Ray Lewis type, you know, super out there, like, really intense, yelling, super intimidation, all that stuff. Like, it's like a role that you're playing, essentially. And like, you need that. Like, if you're gonna go play football, especially professional football, you're literally gonna, like, might as well run out in traffic. It's gonna feel the exact
same thing. Boom, boom, boom.
You know, you gotta psych yourself up.
Few times,
right? You can't go in there with, like, a super low.
You can't go in and mindset. Just say, like, peace and calm, thank you.
Right,
you know,
like,
hope you're having a great day, dude.
Like,
and then,
I hope no harm on you, brother.
Yeah,
and then he just runs over you to the quarterback and kills him.
Well, that's like a variety of different things. Like, there's, you know, people cut.
Oh, it's going.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, do whatever you want.
All right, cool. Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just still having some camera issues, folks. Hey, it's still early in the podcast.
First podcast. This is real, man.
Hopefully, one day we'll get, maybe Canon will sponsor us and give us a shit ton of batteries.
Canon, get at my guy Mark real quick. All right,
get at me.
Like, for
give
real.
us $1 million.
This is real shit. All right, we need it.
But, I mean, it might be a little bit artificial, but I think that's an awesome place to end.
Absolutely,
Again,
man.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You on super soon.
Honor.
And
many more to come.
Everyone stay greasy.
Stay greasy.
See ya.
Wicked.